tonight, the Fayetteville Planning Commission approved a conditional use permit for a proposed 14-home development in Fayetteville near Old Wire Road, despite concerns from some neighbors about flooding. Residents say they wanted more answers about how the project would impact drainage before it moves forward. 5 News reporter Lauren Spencer shows us their concerns.
All of this just kind of takes on the floodwater.
Tyler Massey has lived in his home off Juneway Terrace for over 10 years.
It's just a beautiful part of town.
When it rains, the creek next to his house looks like this.
Last year, during one of these heavy storms, it did overflow and the water kind of came over here into our crawl space.
A developer is looking to build 14 homes on a little over 3 acres behind Tyler's house on Bear Tree Court. He says 80% of the site is within a floodplain.
This is the lowest elevation spot in the whole neighborhood. So all of the water funnels down here and it's high risk. I mean, it's going to flood at some point. And so for 14 houses, that's just a lot of possible damage in the future for them and for ourselves.
Developer was applying for a conditional use permit Monday night. City staff recommended denying that CUP, saying the proposal doesn't currently meet several city requirements, including rules around cluster developments and environmental constraints, including floodplain, floodway, and streamside protection areas. Despite this, the Planning Commission approved the CUP, saying many of those concerns will be reviewed as the project moves through the development process.
I think it's a good spot for a cluster housing development. I think there are a lot of questions that have to be answered in development review, and I think when we get to development review, we can ask those questions.
In Fayetteville, covering news where you live, Lauren Spencer, 5 News.
Homeowners there say that they want to see more information and studies on how this would impact their property. Tonight's vote, yes, was on a conditional use permit, not a final development plan, meaning that the property owner will still have to get approval of construction and engineering plans. Well, Fort Smith police are still searching for the suspect in last Tuesday's shooting that killed a 16-year-old. Jasmine Johnston, here on your screen, is wanted on first-degree murder and aggravated robbery charges. Police say she is considered armed and dangerous. If you have information about her location, contact Fort Smith Police or Crime Stoppers at 78-CRIME. A reward is being offered for any information. We've also learned the second suspect arrested in connection to that shooting has been extradited to Sebastian County. 18-year-old Donnie Warner was arrested Thursday in LaFleur County. Warner is expected to be in court for a hearing on Wednesday. Well, Sequoyah County Sheriff's Office is looking for 2 people deputies say helped steal a vehicle in Vian. Police say these 2 people right there on your screen were in a stolen car that was stopped at the Love's truck stop in Vian. The driver was taken into custody. Police say that they also found a large amount of heroin in the vehicle. They say multiple agencies are searching the area. If you have any information, they say you should call 911. We have a major update tonight in a lawsuit that has been happening for more than 2 decades. Oklahoma reached a settlement with poultry companies who were found liable for polluting the Illinois River watershed. Tyson Foods and 5 other poultry companies were found liable back in December for knowing that their growers were using fertilizer that polluted the watershed. A judge tossed out a previous settlement, but now Oklahoma's Attorney General says a new one was reached today. The companies will have to pay more than $44 million to clean up the watershed, and they will be required to reduce poultry litter over the next 7 years. Well, a new report is putting numbers behind the financial challenges that Arkansas hospitals say they're facing after months of layoffs and service reductions across the state. The report says Arkansas hospitals generate nearly $20 billion in economic activity and support nearly 97,000 jobs. But it also says rising labor and supply costs, low reimbursement rates, and more than $1.2 billion in uncompensated care, making it harder for hospitals to stay financially stable. Terry Maddox worked at Washington Regional for 25 years and says she was proud to work there.
And after 25 years at the hospital, you know, I know almost, I don't want to say everybody, but I know a lot of people that are at the hospital, and you know, it was I was proud to work there.
The hospital said the restructuring was intended to strengthen the hospital's long-term stability while continuing to provide high-quality patient care. Well, strikes continued in Iran for a third day as President Trump said the U.S. will, quote, keep the Strait of Hormuz. He said today the blockade of the strait was back on and announced a 20% security fee on cargo. Iran says it will not allow U.S. interference under any circumstances. And with the blockade back on comes the ripple effects felt at the gas pumps here at home. Oil prices skyrocketed 9% today. And gas prices aren't up as much yet. According to AAA, the average price in Arkansas was $3.46, 5 cents more than a week ago. The national average sat at $3.87. That's up 7 cents from last week. Gas Buddy says when oil prices go up, gas prices typically follow about a day or two later.
Any small impact is going to have a very big ripple effect on not just one country, but all of us.
On both sides, we have diplomats who want to resolve this diplomatically, but at the same time, we have military officials that want to inflict pain on the other side.
Oil prices were at pre-war levels earlier this month, but were traded today at $83 a barrel. The peak price was in late March and early April at $110 a barrel. Well, the finish line may be in sight, but questions are still racing around funding for the Arkansas Senior Olympics. Just weeks after the program lost state money, a big check landed in the account, all after athletes and at least one lawmaker cried foul. Tonight, Tanya Motorsitsky explains what changed.
A victory for Arkansas seniors.
We are getting our funding from DHS this year that's going to allow us to hold our games.
After public backlash and vocal state lawmakers, the Arkansas Department of Human Services restored $70,000 for Senior Olympics.
Better late than never.
I told you last month how just 2 weeks before the start of the fiscal year, money the Senior Olympics was promised back in March was suddenly pulled from under them. But as of last week, Greg Ebert, CEO of Arkansas Senior Olympics, says DHS reinstated the money and they expect to get it in September.
We don't know why. Which is delayed payment.
While he is breathing a sigh of relief, one of the Senior Olympics cheerleaders making sure they get funded is Senator Kim Hammer, who's also running for Secretary of State.
DHS is up against the wall because of the growing demand in other areas that their budget requires to meet, whether it's the food for the senior adult centers or just helping in other areas.
In a statement, DHS says it identified available funding to support the Senior Olympics at the same level it was funded last fiscal year. While questions are swirling about the state's more than $600 million surplus and if those funds can be spent to help, Hammer says that money is in the bank in case federal bucks are cut.
We have to be financially nimble enough to move in the event that the Fed should cut off funding.
Ebert is just happy to keep an important program in the race for healthy Arkansans.
We are a health organization first, and we happen to put on sports, and keeping people active and healthy and giving them competition and make new friendships.
That was Tanya Motorsitsky reporting. Senator Hammer says there's a meeting next month to discuss the budget and issues. The Senior Olympics website says the Springdale Rec Center will host badminton, cornhole, and shuffleboard later this year. Well, heads up for any late-night drivers in Fayetteville. RDOT is doing more work on the I-49 bridge over MLK Boulevard this week. MLK will be closed from 9 at night to 6 in the morning starting tomorrow. If you're trying to go westbound on MLK, the detour will take you onto I-49 North to the Weddington exit and back onto I-49 South. If you're trying to go eastbound, it will take you to the Cato Springs I-49 exit and then back onto I-49 North. And a heads up for anyone around the University of Arkansas campus, UAPD says there will be more of a police presence for the next week. The university is filming a safety video. Police say the video is part of updating the university's active threat resources and answer questions the community had after that shooting report hoax incident that happened last August. They say not to worry as you may see staged emergency response activities. Police will be filming that video starting tomorrow and running through next Monday.